In today's video, we're going to be testing and comparing a $50 pinpointer to the world's most popular $200 pinpointer. I think the results might actually shock you. They really surprised me. So, this is the DR Otek MT6 Pro, I believe, which is a $50 US dollar pinpointer. You can land it here in New Zealand for about 80 New Zealand dollars. This is the Garret AT Pro Pointer, world's famous Garret, one of the best pinpointers of all time in most people's opinion, which costs about 200 US dollars, and you can land it here in New Zealand for about 325. You can actually buy it here in New Zealand. With this one, you have to ship in. So we've got this testing board with 6 inches along there. They're not quite exactly an inch, but they're measured roughly. This is 6 inches all up, marked for the pinpointers to be tested on, and a variety of targets. We have a beautiful wee golden diamond ring, or gold diamond and sapphire ring, should I say, a beautiful ruby and gold pendant, a 50% silver New Zealand half crown, and a sterling silver mount. This is a big, beautiful coin to find. I actually found this one detecting. A New Zealand $2 coin, a New Zealand 50-cent coin, which is much thinner, and a New Zealand 10-cent coin. Now, I've kindly been sent this pinpointer by Dr. Otek. If you guys want one of these after this video, there will be a link to the Dr. Otek shop on Amazon in the description, and use the code SLUICES10 to get 10% off your Dr. Otek pinpointer. But in saying that, I'm going to make this video as unbiased as possible and share my genuine thoughts. So, first up, we're going to start with the Garret Pro Pointer on New Zealand 10-cent coin. We've got our pen here to mark whichever point the pinpointer beeps first consistently. Pretty solid range there. So there we have it marked down there, 10-cent Garret. Now we'll power up the Dr. Otek. Also, these pinpointers have both had brand new fresh batteries just put in them, so it's as fair as possible, and they're both configured to maximum sensitivity. The Dr. Otek actually only has 1 sensitivity running level, the Garret has 3. Right, 10-cent coin on the Dr. Otek. Believe it or not, let's double check. I'm going to call that dead even with the Garret. Dead even, because it's beeping sometimes further back than the Garret, but not really consistently to a teeny bit further forward. So I'm going to say that is a dead even. So look at that, a $50 pinpointer just got the same depth and sensitivity as a $200 Garret. However, as you notice, the Garret was always consistent once it got to that length, when it was a little bit bouncy for that first centimetre or two for the Dr. Otek. Now, let's try our 50-cent piece. So you can see about where that line is where it becomes consistent. Now we'll try the Dr. Otek. Getting a bit further than the Garret so far, but is it going to be consistent? No. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, the Dr. Otek doesn't get it consistent till about there, which is about bang on in between the two. But as you can see, that is still really impressive. It's surprising the difference between the big coin and the small coin on the Dr. Otek, which is not very much. One of the Garret, it was quite a bit of a bigger difference in terms of depth. However, even then, your $50 pinpointer got almost as deep as your $300 one, which is renowned for being really sensitive. It's definitely not the most sensitive pinpointer out there, but I would say it is one of, if not the most sensitive, consistent pinpointer. You have the famous Fisher F-Pulse, which is one of my favourite pinpointers, which is a lot more sensitive than the Garret. However, it is also more prone to falsing and picking up things you don't want it to pick up. When the Garret, when you hear a beep, you always know it's going to be a target. Now we'll try the $2 coin. We'll start with the Dr. Otek this time. seems to be getting it at the exact same place as the Garret got the 50 cent, which is still pretty impressive. That's, you know, a solid 2.5 inches. Now, I expect the Garret to beat this. Yeah, maybe. Let's make sure it's in the right position. Yeah, it is. Only slightly though. Just a touch. Garret was about there, you know, just a touch further. Now we'll do this beautiful wee gold pendant. This is a very small target. Now the Dr. Otek did better on the smaller targets before, proportionate to the bigger ones. So it'll be interesting to see how it does on this one. About 1.25 inches there. And to confirm, just to show you, it is on free sensitivity. I think make sure that paper's dead on with it to keep it fair. Yep, the Garret seems to have beaten it on that one. Now we have the beautiful British half, or NZ half crown. This should be got at least 3 inches, I reckon. Yep, bang on the 3 inch line. So the Garret got that on 3 inches. Dr. Otek. That's odd. I'm going to reset it real quick. There we go. That's a bit odd. The Dr. Otek's only seems to be getting it about this depth. So that is about 1/2 inch difference there. So the bigger thing, surely. Yeah, look at that. So it's getting the 50 cent as we measured before. Like, we'll make sure this paper's right under it. It's in the 50 cent, way back there, exact same size we measured before. It's in the $2, let's make sure. The $2 in about the same spot as the 50 cent, ever so slightly further. But then this huge silver half crown, maybe it's the machine's built-in noise cancelling. The huge half crown, it's only getting there. When the Garret got the half crown a bit further again, which is very interesting. I think that's because the Dr. Otek, it's also got this really cool wee digital display that shows you how close the target is. But I think it's because it has built-in noise cancelling and interference reduction. The Garret does as well. But I know on this one, it is a bit harsher than the Garret. So from field testing, the Garret doesn't really dial down its sensitivity much depending on target and interference when the Dr. Otek can. So it's good in the fact you're way less likely to, you're not less likely to get faulting on this than that. Obviously, there's the difference between the cost of machine. But this almost has to dial down its sensitivity a little bit more to noise balance and cancel out interference than what the Garret needs to get the same amount of cancelling, if that makes sense. Like, I took this on the New Zealand National Metal Detecting Rally, about 100 detectorists in a field. So detectors, 2 meters away, 5 meters away, 10 meters away, dozens of them. And this one probably dialed down from, my Equinox was going crazy, no matter what I did, to be fair. But this one probably dialed down to half sensitivity, when the Garret, I would say, was still running on about 3/4. So that is one sort of downside on the Dr. Otek, but at the same time, for a $50 machine, it still does the job really, really well and to the standard of a lot of higher machines. It also has this built-in noise cancelling button here, which will noise cancel for you, which most pinpointers don't have. Most pinpointers, you have to restart them, so that is very handy for the Dr. Otek as well. Anyway, on to the last target. Gold ring. Look at that. it must have an affinity for gold because it is detecting the gold ring further than anything else it did. So the Dr. Otek's $2 was right there, and it's getting the gold ring about the same depth as the Garret's 50 cent. Gold ring for the Garret. Although in saying that, the Garret is getting it a whisker further. Nah, we're going to say the same. Oh, no, actually, because the paper moved out then. So, the Garret. Yeah, it's getting it just a whisker further. But that's a millimetre difference. So, in conclusion, a $50 pinpointer has just almost kept up with a $200 pinpointer. This, and the Garret, I'm not being biased here. I love the Garret. This has been, as you can tell by the wear and tear on it, this has been, the sensitivity really hasn't decreased since I've got it too. So if you guys are wondering, well, you need to compare new with new because this is near new. The sensitivity, I've only had this for a year and it still runs exactly as it did from new. So I would say it's still a fair test. But yeah, in conclusion, $50 pinpointer. Biggest difference there was the half crown, which was half an inch, so 2 versus, 2 1/4. But outside of that, it was less than a tenth, or less than a quarter inch, or 1 centimetre difference between the targets on a $50 pinpointer and a $300 pinpointer. And this, with Dr. Otek 2, it's still got all the features, it's got noise cancelling, it's got a digital screen, easy on and off, and a torch, just like any other pinpointer. Does the job perfectly. And the Garret's also just an amazing machine. Nice wee single button operation as well. Torch. The only real difference between the Garret and the Otek is the Garret has configurable sensitivity. The Otek doesn't. But yeah, that's a wee comparison. And I hope that showcases to you guys why sometimes the big, most expensive detector may not be the best option. And sometimes going for a smaller, cheaper product can really do the job just as well. And trust me, in the field, this performs almost as well as this would. That is my genuine opinion and thoughts. If you guys do want one of these MT6 or any Dr. Otek product, there is a link to their, as I said, to their Amazon shop in my description. And if you use Sluices, put the Sluices 10 code in, you should get 10% off. If it's not giving you 10% off, you haven't put it in the right section. But at your checkout, you put in the Sluices 10, and that'll get you 10% off, and that also goes to help support the channel so we can get more product like this in future to try out. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks heaps. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.